Welcome to Out of Print Audio. If you like this content, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. As a quick recap, Henry has just received a call to immediately go out on his next mission, despite his complaints. Today, as a treat, we have a flashback to when it all began, following a teenager named Cassidy. Episode 8 of Retrieval, The Sheriff of Bunkerton, begins now.
I remember them. You know them? The cool kids, just walking around in groups, pushing us as they moved through the halls or in the bathrooms, or when people like Cindy Jacobson and Rena Erickson in their fancy Jeeps and convertibles, which was super extra. Like, we lived in a farming town, so it was weird to see a convertible. Like, it snowed a lot. I'm not talking about the Jeep. That was pretty practical now that I think about it. And I'll bring it back up later. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. So, it's the day of. Lisa and I are supposed to come out and do some announcement for a show the drama club was going to put on. We had costumes and we were going to do this whole performance, get people into it. I go into one of the spare rooms off the side of the gym and I can hear everyone just walking in and getting to the bleachers. So I'm about to get changed. I'm getting ready to take off some of my clothes. I had this cool sunflower costume I'd made and Lisa still wasn't there yet, so I figured, what the hell? Might as well do it anyway. I mean, Lisa was kind of off about it as we were discussing it, but she had always come through before. So I just totally assumed it would be exactly the same. I go to lock the door just as I'm about to get changed. I think I had bike shorts on, the Lycra kind, so I wouldn't just be in my undies. Then I feel this big push up against the door just as I'm about to close it. And it's this big guy, think from the football team, and Rena's with him, and they're just laughing, and I can kind of make out people screaming as well, like laughing, and then I'm just in the air, and I guess I wasn't paying attention, but there was this dumpster in the back of the room I was in. It had been covered by mats that were rolled up, and he's just got me in the air, and I can hear some yelling, which I'm hoping was Lisa to try and save me, and then I'm just in this dumpster. Like, not physically, but emotionally, I was super hurt. Like, deeply, I knew people might not have liked me, but this seemed way overboard. Like, why would someone go out of their day to find me and put me into a dumpster? So I was hurt. Like, really hurt. Like, why would anyone do something like this? Like, I'm not the best actress. I'm not like Reese Witherspoon, but I mean, I am not Megan Fox either. And I mean that both ways. I'm just not built like her. But in fairness, like, who is? But I can act better, you know? So I'm just calling out, asking for people, trying to get attention, but I just hear laughter and some other odd sounds like screaming, but no one coming to my rescue, like no one came in. So as I'm lying there, all my senses are amplified. It just felt like all the world was laughing at me, the pretty ones, the lame ones, the useless teachers even, and so I just felt so embarrassed and ashamed of myself for letting it happen. These things have a way of just staying with you, labeling you, defining you. So I was crushed, and then after a few minutes, I was just shame rage. I wanted to hit something. The football player who I think was called Travis. Then Rena Erickson. Then myself. Then Lisa for not showing up. Like, where was she? And the tears, they just came out. And then I felt worse, of course, as anyone would. So, time passes. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and I'm still locked up. I was there for, to be honest, for I don't even know, 3 hours maybe. That's an eternity, really. I mean, have you ever been trapped in a dumpster for that long? So the whole time, I'm kicking at the plastic flap things that were like the lid, and I'm calling people out by name. Like, I said some really disgraceful things about Lisa in those moments. And while I'm doing this, just screaming myself goat, I remember, like, I heard shouting and all sorts of these piercing cries, but muffled. Like I was underwater, hearing above me like when you're wakeboarding and you fall in for a moment, and I just assumed it was all at me, like everyone in the world just hated me and thought I was the stupidest person in the world, which maybe I was. But, 3 hours is a long time to laugh at somebody. Even I got bored thinking about myself like that. I mean, an hour, yeah, but 3. And I did hear what I thought were teachers at the time, too. I'm a total nerd, but like, people don't hate me that much. Not 3 hours. I just assumed people had forgotten about me, but I had heard people banging on the door too. Ironically, looking back, because they had worked so hard to lock me in, they had effectively barricaded me in. It legit took me 3 hours to get free. I had to just keep kicking at plastic, and I'm pretty small, so eventually I was about to get out, but not without cuts and everything. I'm glad because I was starting to get pretty low. I remember thinking, in all that darkness that surrounded me, that I should just kill myself. Then I realized I would still need to get out of the dumpster to do it. Then, you start thinking of all the options. I knew something had to be wrong when I finally got free and I checked my phone and there was just a ton of calls. Then I thought, oh my gosh, some kind of shooter or something, but no, it was so much worse. So, when I finally get the dumpster open, I put my clothes on, I tried to call people, but still nothing, like no one was answering. I thought of calling the police, but I thought that was dumb. I mean, I hadn't even tried to open the doors yet, but you guessed it, they had locked those as well. I tried to bang and kick against them. At one point, I legit thought I had dislocated my knee or whatever. Finally, I get the doors open just a smidge, which is totally a unit of measure. I squeeze my fingers through it, just a little, and I can see they had stacked chairs against the doors, or they must have because the chairs are barely against it and they're tilted at this weird angle, like they're diagonal, and something's barely keeping it in place. So, it wasn't enough to really open the door. I'm looking around and I find this great big pipe, must be part of like a volleyball net, like the posts or something, and I start thinking, okay, you can get out, but then what if they just put me back? What if they just try it again? And I mean, how stupid would I look then, right? Then I'm pissed. I know I just want to hit someone or something. I'm just raging, like worse than anything I've been, like even when I was a kid. Which is good because I can't imagine how I would have gotten out otherwise. I just totally needed the rage. So I'm just pounding on that lever, forcing it into the gap I made and making it wider till I could finally get free. But I can't see the floor. Not yet. I'm tired. I'm angry. I'm super relieved. When that door finally swung open and it was just a blast of air and light, my body just wanted to rest and relax. So I stumble forward. I had been pushing this post thingy as a lever, and so the doors and everything around it, like those chairs I had mentioned, had kind of just exploded out. It's still pretty precarious. So for whatever reason, I still hold onto my pipe/post thing, and I'm just looking around. It was past midday, so the sun was really bright in my eyes. I thought I saw a lot of red, which was normal because we were the Red Hawks, so the school colors are red and the lettering and fonts. I was supposed to come out at the start of this assembly and there was going to be a pep rally, so I didn't think too much about it because we always have lots of posters and streamers out for those, except I could just make out this one person at the end of the hall. It's, Travis or Ryan or something, the guy that was the ringleader, the biggest one, and he's lying over someone, like standing over him. I run towards him screaming, and I see him hear me quickly. He looks up, and for a second I see it. He's eating flesh, and there's someone underneath him, but it's too late to see all that. I raise the pipe and I am swinging. Just swinging for all I am worth. Like I'm a lumberjack or something. I'm just going to town on him. And he kind of stumbles for a bit, like falls down just enough, so I end up at his face now. But I guess I was just so caught up in everything, I don't think, and then and I see his head open, just like a ripe melon, just like freaking explode everywhere. So I'm just standing there in shock. Like, what just happened? OMG, there's like blood all over my shoes and my top. I guess I must have made a lot of noise, because then I just see more. Like this wave of people coming towards me, just rushing, and look, I don't know what came over me. I was those moms who lift up cars when their kids get trapped or something like that, because I'm like Captain America with a pole, pipe, or lever thing I had. I'm not even real sure why they're coming at me. All I know is I am the greatest pipe swinger that ever existed. Like, I'm the Beyoncé of pipe swinging. So, no matter how hard things are and how tough your day has been, there's maybe a moment where you can learn something about yourself. And this was like secret talent #1 of the day. And it was just everything came my way. It was only about 4 or 5 of them and they died so quickly. But I did it. My heart's just beating outside my chest, and it's so loud in my ears, like I'm at an EDM festival. I'm trying not to freak out, and I'm taking deep breaths, because I used to hyperventilate as a kid, so I know when I have to try and calm down. So as I'm breathing and my heartbeat's coming down a bit and I'm looking around, I can see that I'm covered in blood, And then I guess the sun moved a bit because it feels like this big reveal, like those makeover shows. I don't know when the timing of it all was, and I have so many questions, but I see just lifeless people and blood all around me. I see hordes and clusters of body parts and smears and stains. I mean, I'm just alone and covered by death. Now I'm freaking out. Yeah, I killed some people, but not all this. I was okay with jail or whatever, but not all these people, not a school. I'm crying, starting to fall to the ground, when the sheriff comes in, guns out, and just ready to fire. I put my hands up and I'm just fumbling over words and just tears streaming, snot running, just pleading to not be killed, and I didn't do it. And I'm thinking, maybe he won't believe me. He might know how good an actress I am. Like, not Julia Roberts good, but like better than a Kardashian. Maybe not Kylie. Then he's pulling me up. He's hugging me. He must have recognized me because he's calling me by name and says I'm lucky to be alive. I'm still struggling, recovering, so he shakes me a little and then slaps me, like totally open hand, pimp hand kind of slap. He starts talking all folksy like, "It's all right, Cass. They didn't get you. Don't feel bad now about defending yourself. They were killers, meaning to get you." So I'm like, what the freak happened? Like, what's going on? And I'm crying now for different reasons, for different moments, and I don't even know why. Sheriff hugs me for a bit longer, then he starts to tear up himself. Not sure why. Maybe I just set him off finally, after all he had seen. Looking back, I should have slapped the spit out of him. You know, my jaw still feels off some nights. I'm pretty sure it's his fault. Either way, we come to and he takes me outside. Says he's short-handed right now, and there are too many puzzles to solve tonight, but he's down men, and could use someone like me. I want to say no, and just hole up. Then I keep seeing it. I see all the bodies, and I see scratches and blood on the sidewalks. I just see bodies as far as the eye can see. People must have been trying to escape, like run for their lives. I've tried to think over this a lot because I like crosswords and puzzles and stuff, but I think the athletes must have gotten sick because there's no way that this many people got hit so quickly. Could you imagine if the chess club had turned? I mean, Lawrence seemed cool, but come on, he would have died walking down the stairs. It's the only thing that makes sense, like you're just running for your lives. And all of a sudden, a pack would have appeared made up of the Usain Bolt zombies of your school, like those lions as they chased gazelles in those safari videos, you know? Anyway, the sheriff. I say to him, okay. He walks me into the main hall, where there's a row of vending machines, and he shoots out the locks. They swing open, and he gets some bottled water and just pours it over my hands and some of my arms. Tells me to keep myself clean. He says there are too many places around the town to just take crime photos and too many bodies. But he wants me to do something he wished he didn't. He asks me to collect the bodies and place them in the gym. I tell him the gym is pretty messed up, and I'm a pretty small person. He takes me back and we get the fire hose and just wash it down. There were doors on the side of the gym that just opened up to the outside, so we push all the water out those doors with brooms we find. Now, I assume you're thinking, but what about the bodies that were in there? Like, how did you turn the hose on then? Well, we just did it first. Yeah, there were bodies, but their hearts aren't pumping at this point, so it's not like people are just super bleeding out, I think. So we just sprayed over them, and then just moved them after. It was kinda better, actually, because they slide so much more easily. Which is also a thing now, like calculating how to move bodies. Everyone has their opinions. One guy said, like, straight-faced, he was the Michael Jordan of moving bodies. So, the sheriff tells me he's been all over town and trying to stop people. He's killed so many, and there's so many dead that he wants to get an understanding on who's dead and who's not. We're near a national park, so he keeps saying it needs to be done before the animals came along. Like wolves or wild dogs and coyotes. Who knows what would happen then? He brings it up way too many times. I ask about my family. He says my guess was as good as his. Best see if I could find a phone and call them. But if I can help him out here, like seriously, if someone told you to move 1,000 bodies, how would you even know where to start? So I remember there was a golf cart and some trailer that Mr. Wright had for trash and other things. But that's way too high a number, especially for someone as small as me. He asked me to go to his truck outside. I make my way with him and it's, well, you know, just passing through rooms and walls and floors and ceilings, and Well, I guess you can imagine. And he asks if I have experience with firearms. I felt like honesty at this point was important, so I tell him the truth, unless it's on a video game. I got nothing. We finally arrive by his truck, and he starts giving me a TikTok version of gun safety, just real quick, and only the highlights. He starts with the safety, which I was super happy about. I'm pretty sure if left to my own devices, I would have blown off my own foot. He then watches me load some ammo, teaches me how to hold it. You know, basic stuff. Top of the barrel up, bottom of the handle down. Dominant push, hold the top, other hand pull, and supporting at the bottom. In about 10 seconds, which was way too short, he tells me to aim for something. I look around and find the principal's car. I figure I'll shoot into his tires. He has those stupid spinning hubcaps that, well, I just hate them. He tells me that's a bad idea at this point. Explains to me how ricochets might work, which I super appreciated. So I just shot at a tree that was nearby. We both get a kick out of seeing me hit something. It was totally secret talent, #2. Like seriously, learning I was good with pipes and firearms was a big highlight in a day filled with lowlights. When I hit that tree, it was like those videos, you know, where everything kind of slowed down and then some song played over the top at the best moment, like a Kanye song, but before his divorce. When it was still okay to listen to him, like after everyone forgave him for the Taylor thing, which is a whole other thing. He's happy, gives me a shotgun, watches me do the same thing, we trade numbers, and that was that. Tells me he hates to leave me with this, but it's the norm now. Might as well get used to it. He says he'll come by in a few hours, if not call back. Then he says something really messed up. He's not sure if this is the last time we might meet, and if someone will come, but if no one comes by noon tomorrow, do what I got to do to survive. He figures the place will be safe enough. I'm not sure if you guys remember what this moment was like, but yesterday I was making a sunflower costume and trying to persuade Lisa to do a Hamilton-inspired number to advertise a drama production. Now, the sheriff was handing me firearms and telling me good luck, like I was all the kids in the Von Trapp family, and we were supposed to survive against the Nazis. So, by this time, dude, I got locked in at around 10:30, so it's been maybe 4 hours now. I check my phone and it's about 2 p.m. I just start calling people for a while, just sending messages, checking Instagram. No one I knew was posting anything, and I don't know I got desperate and checked Facebook. And I just see comments and some videos, but the cutoff kind, but still really nothing. So I sent out messages, posted where I was, and just sort of cried. Not just for me, like for everyone. My dad, he had this thing where if you had to emote, as he called it, not like video game emotes, but like express emotion, to just super ugly cry on a time limit, like 10 seconds. So I just heaved into it and just wailed. And it was honestly the best 10 seconds of my day, besides the shooting and the pipe stuff, and getting the door open. But it was sort of just a relief, so I figure I'll clean myself up. My car wasn't too far, so I go to it, and I can see just blood all over me. I figure I'm alone, and I had some clothes scattered around my car, and some water bottles. So I just strip down to my bicycle shorts and just wash myself and change my clothes. And then I do something I wish I hadn't. I don't listen to the sheriff. I get in my car and just drive home, but I bring my gun. I guess guns. It was like a 5-minute drive, and I can see that bodies aren't really cleaned up. You know, not yet. My parents had gone out of town, so it was just me and my grandpa. I get home and I'm just all in dread. Like, please don't make me have to cap Grandpa. But I didn't have to. I'm not sure if it was worse or better, but I go in and he's lying on the ground. At first I think, oh no, he might have turned, but I turn him over and he, I don't know, just died. Like normal died. Like a heart attack or something, because he wasn't all weird like everyone else. Like the eyes were the same and his body was cold. And this is how messed up the whole thing was. Like, I was super excited about it, like, oh, that's awesome. And then I was like, no, wait, he's dead. Like my grandpa just died. So I wasn't sure what to do. And this is total survivor thinking, but I worked super hard to get him in the car with me and take him with me. Looking back, I don't know. It took like half an hour. And when we were both in the car, I was like, what am I doing? And then it was too late. Like, dude, he was just in the car. And I knew I had to go back. So I get sheets and towels and I don't know, ropes from the garage and like a super sharp knife, which I'm not sure about, and just loaded them in and brought them too. Wait, I also grabbed this super oversized raincoat, one of those big yellow plastic kinds, and some boots. Like, I didn't have anything else. Before I found it, like, really, I was thinking on cutting up a sheet like some poor Halloween ghost costume with the eye holes and everything. Can you imagine if you were black looking for your kids at the high school and you show up and the KKK are just moving bodies around? I'm so glad I went with the raincoat. So, again, I don't know what I'm thinking. I get some snacks and some water and my charger for my phone because in my head this is gonna take a while. And Grandpa and I just drive on back. I was hoping to see anyone, like seriously anyone else, but no, nothing. We make it back and I just drive to where I think the golf cart is and the trailer thing. And I realize this is dumb, but like I knew Cindy Jacobson had one of those Jeeps with the whole crane thing at the front that can pull things. So I'm thinking, why didn't I get her Jeep? And then I can slide the bodies onto something that I can hook onto. Wait, it's called a hoist. And then just MacGyver some sort of transport system. Remember, I'm just a short chick. Lugging Grandpa took half an hour and I have lots of bodies to move. So I start slow. I get Cindy's Jeep, I open the doors, and I just start at the top. I go to the front of the school and I tie some rope up to the hoist. Believe it or not, I was a Girl Scout and I took knots super seriously. But I'm starting to get worried. Am I expecting to just drag bodies along the concrete into the hall? Won't that just, I hate to say it, but disintegrate the bodies as I pull them? Like they were sandpaper? So I'm just sitting in Cindy's Jeep, just thinking what an idiot I am looking at Grandpa, who I can see in the front seat of my own car. And then I see it. The answer, and I know what I have to do. See, our town was a farming town, which is why it's pretty small. And because it's a farming town, well, you get tractors and buckets on those tractors. We had one right there. So, I get there thinking I have to find the keys. And I see Mr. Wright. Turns out he must have been attacked as he was getting on the tractor, and he had his keys in the one arm he still had attached. So, again, I know it's weird, but I give myself a pat on the back. Like, literally, I placed it behind me because I'm a dork. But hidden talent time number 3, I'm really good with a tractor. Like, amazing with one. I was just scooping up bodies. And I was doing that thing where if they were sitting on the edge of the bucket but not quite in, I was shaking the arm thing so the bucket would adjust, and they would slide back in. The gym doors were wide enough too, and I was about to just drive in. The biggest problem was not running bodies over. I did my first run, like with a lot of difficulty, so I just went back and cleared a path. In about an hour, so maybe 3:30 now, I had the outside cleared, which is pretty amazing. Then, I had to start going through the rooms, where I broke out hoses, which took forever, to just wash the walls and windows down. If I'm being honest, I was pretty low. I had been working really hard for hours. The sun was still pretty hot and I was trying to eat and keep my fluids up, but then not hurl sometimes. I've been trying hard not to bring this up, but moving bodies of people you knew or recognized, it still sits with me when I sleep sometimes. When I found Lisa, she had been hurt pretty bad. I don't want to go into details, but she had died pretty violently. The same for Rena, too. As much as I had hated her earlier, the state I found her in. Let's just say it made up for any hard feelings I might have still held on to. The first time is just, it's so hard, and then after like the 100th, you just keep working. Just before the sun set was when the first parent arrived. I had moved a lot of bodies at this point, if not all of them. Most of them had died really close together, like it was just this tidal wave and this small impact zone. So when I started with the outside, I was actually grabbing the outliers first. Don't get me wrong, it's hard, dead weight is heavy weight, but somehow I had gotten most, if not all I could, at least all I had the strength for. I was still pretty scatterbrained. Cindy's Jeep was still at the front of the school, and Grandpa was still in my car, and I don't even remember where I left the tractor. I'm bringing this all up because I had so little time to actually clean up the bodies. I had to get a broom to separate them where I could. Pull them apart so they were lying side by side, but it was so much better than where it had been. I was pretty grateful. I took him in the hall and he just broke down. I know it sounds bad, but I was alone for so long, it was super nice just to see another person. Turns out, while I was locked up, the state had placed a perimeter around the town, and so people who had left for work, which most do, were locked out. This guy, Jeff, he had driven through some of the fields around town to get in. It wasn't long after that the state troopers arrived, or part of the army or something. CDC, they came in and started pulling us away. The sheriff arrived back in time and pulled me out, said I was his daughter. Jeff, he just fought them, didn't want to leave his kid, but yeah, the sheriff, he pulled me into his car and just put his foot down, and we ended up at this weird place outside of town where these underground bunkers had been set up. I'm not sure who built them, but I was glad they did. At first I thought it was super creepy, being driven out to this weird place. But then the night turned into day, this large flash of light, and I could just make out a cloud, just as we were getting inside. It was the night the bombs dropped.
That's it for this episode of Retrieval. Tune in next time for episode 9, The Closed Bunker.